Chains.
All right, hello everybody. This is our podcast for the Silent Hill 2 remake trailers leading up to the release of Silent Hill 2 on October 8th. I am Chaos Augur of Duo Die,
I'm Vicar Amelia of Duo Die.
and we are bringing you our thoughts leading up to the release. To learn a little bit about us and what we love about Silent Hill, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Well, I think you should start mostly because you've just been real deep into this.
I am very excited for the release of this game. Yes. Silent Hill 3 though is the one for me. To me that was the coup de grace. I think that's the scariest one. And I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. I didn't finish Silent Hill 2 because I thought it was a snooze to get through.
I couldn't finish it. It's just like really frustrating at some point. It's really monotonous at some point. Like you kind of want the story to go somewhere, so that's the only thing that keeps you going is okay, what's going on here? And then it's just like I don't even care that much anymore.
Yeah. So cue everybody to turn off the video right when we said that, right? Because it's such a beloved game for good reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people don't remember that nobody really bought this game and nobody really finished it back in the day. In fact, I can't remember a time I ever really had a conversation about Silent Hill 2 until modern gaming started becoming more popular.
I think by the time I heard people talking about Silent Hill 2, 4 was already like a thing.
Yes, I that's really it because everybody was like, what a disappointment. It's not
2
as
is the
good.
best.
It's not as good as 2 and 3, and like 2 and 3 were kind of the battle, back then. Like, and what you are you moving stuff on the table next to the microphone?
I feel like it's reverberating.
But what's your favorite Silent Hill?
Oh, well then if people haven't already turned this off, they're going to. Shattered Mem no, I'm kidding. It's Silent Hill 4, which is a divisive opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean 3 I think is the scariest. And really interesting, love the soundtrack. I also think 4's soundtrack catches me a lot, which gets me into it.
It is a very good soundtrack.
But every time everything reminds me of Silent Hill 4. I don't know. I feel like it's influenced a lot more things than it thinks it has. The idea of being in that freaking room is just so intense and freaky. And like you go from having what feels like this comfort womb-like feeling to like it starts going bad.
I mean, realistically, to me, the most iconic images in all of Silent Hill are the cover of 3 and the door.
Mm-hmm.
Henry looking at the door in Silent Hill 4 is one of the most iconic images in Silent Hill, period. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember a time that I saw an image of Silent Hill 2 outside of playing it. And,
Yeah.
like, back...
Pyramid Head?
Yeah.
Pyramid Head is what Silent Hill 2 is known for.
Like,
Let's put that out there.
That's iconic.
Mm-hmm.
The ending is iconic.
Yeah.
And everything kind of leading up to... And that's if you get the good ending. Like, if you get the good ending, then that game is, chef's kiss.
It's worth it. Trust the process.
Yeah, yeah. And this brings me to, like, I couldn't finish it because it was so samey all the way through. It's the same enemies and it's the same things. And if it wasn't for Pyramid Head and the ending of Silent Hill 2, like, I had a hard time even watching a YouTuber finish Silent Hill 2 except for the end. And I watched Super Best Friends play it, so I would be more entertained through the process, and I still had a hard time getting through that game.
Yeah, I think even it's that the enemies, not even that they're all the same. But a lot of the looks of everything are the same, and also the enemies aren't engaging. Like they're easy to like you just swing at them or run around them. Even Pyramid Head, which I feel like okay, I kind of get why Pyramid Head got popular because like he
It's a
looks cool and he's hot.
it's a great image. I mean, it's a great it is a great image.
I get it, and I think a lot of people like the symbolic nature of this game, especially once you get the
That's
ending.
that's really what it is. Is this is a game that is a better game on replay than it is your first time through because you start seeing those little things. It's like Final Fantasy X.
Which I don't mind because like some of my favorite movies are like that too.
Right. Like there's something to be said about something that when you rewatch it, every time you rewatch it, you find something new and it makes you
Mm-hmm.
go, "Oh."
Mm-hmm.
Like that's great. But unfortunately on a first playthrough, like that can make and break what you're trying to do. And
It still has to be good the first time too,
yes,
for
yes.
it to make as much of an impact the
And
second.
let's face it, survival horror, especially in this generation, not great. Like survival horror was very stop, point, shoot, and go. And a lot of people are like, "Well, the combat was purposefully bad for this," and it's like, no, all survival horror at this point in time, from Resident Evil to Fatal Frame was probably the most engaging,
Oh yeah, because it
realistically.
wasn't true combat.
Yeah,
It wasn't the same. I love Fatal Frame, but going off of the fact that it was purposeful, I mean that feels like such an excuse.
no,
Uh,
this is tank control combat.
yeah,
Because
it's
survival horror at this point in time was tank controls, and the combat was bad because tank controls.
well, and it's barely survival horror. It's a lot more psychological horror
Very,
elemented.
very psychological horror.
Because I wouldn't say it's like, oh, the hardest game to get through combat wise or to manage inventory
And
wise.
and realistically, like, my last time playing Silent Hill 2 and trying to get through it, I think I made it past the hospital. And I can't honestly remember a time that I even took damage in this game. Like it was a very easy game, and it was a very samey game. So I lost engagement very quickly, especially like being a young guy. When this came out it was 2001, so like I think I played this later in like 2006 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried numerous times to try to get myself through it, and I just never could really engage with it.
I mean, we
And
tried together at some
yeah,
point and
yeah,
everything.
because
Um,
we played 3 and we
yeah,
loved it.
yeah,
We
we
loved it. Couldn't put it down.
three was a really cool experience. I love three also. I love the characters in three. I love it's very girl centric. Yay. Um but I also just love the soundtrack and the look of it, and it has some of the scariest memorable moments.
Yeah, well, every room in that game is like a person. Like
Right.
it's a character. Like every room like almost every room. I'm not gonna say every room because not every room is great, but it's just when you're going through a game that's so industrial and there's so much graphical insanity for your eyes at all times. Like the walls are bleeding and turning
Mm-hmm.
into meat and chains like nonstop. Like it's a hard game to mentally process and get through it because it's so strenuous with how industrial the noises are. All the weird
Mm-hmm.
noises come from everything. Like Silent Hill 2 is quiet.
Yeah.
It's a very quiet game, and it really only gets noisy when there's enemies around. Other than that, you don't really hear anything until you see a cutscene, and then the music's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the entire series, the music is always amazing, but like that's it. Like it's quiet.
Yeah, I'm gonna level with you. I don't remember anything but the apartments in that game. Like legitimately, the apartments are the only thing that sticks out in my head, and probably because I tried to play that game so many times that I'm just like, okay, the apartments, I got through this, I get it, I remember it, I'm done.
Yeah, it's white walls and blue carpet, and then every room is square and brown, and that is the extent of that entire area. And I'm not trying to say like this is a bad game by any means. It's
No, I
not.
still love the
It's
game.
not a bad game. It's a game that should be appreciated for what it was, especially for the time that it was made. But people do act like this game was this amazing triumph that artistically it is like a triumph,
Mm-hmm.
but like survival horror doesn't sell well, and people are like, well, Konami destroyed the series because they hate it and they're bastards, and it's just like if you're not getting the returns that you're putting into a project, then of course you're not going to fund it because you're not going to get those dividends back.
Right. I think horror in general just doesn't sell well or doesn't take well to the public. I mean, horror movies don't win awards and things like that. It doesn't matter how well they're done. It matters that people don't take it seriously. People
Yeah.
never take horror
No.
seriously, which is refreshing about Silent Hill 2 is it is taken seriously and it is like a really deep and awesome story and has so much symbolism and is like so well written that it's a shame that people can't give horror the time of day.
Exactly. And again, it's a horror game, and people people like to be scared. Like that is a fact, and people have made a living off of scaring people, but that does not mean we all like to be scared in the same ways,
Mm-hmm.
which that hurts horror even more because what are you going to do to circumvent that horror aspect to give the person or player enough to want to continue and push forward through that game?
I mean, yeah, I think we see that now a lot with indie horror and different elements and subgenres of horror games today is that, yeah, there's a lot of different ways to scare people. I think PT was a good example of just barely anything there, just like some of those psychological elements of um, kind of being
Yeah.
crazy and not low expectations, but then you see a lot of action in horror now, a lot of cooperative play, which is cool to see,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of story driven narratives. You see that in a lot of indie games, like I'd say like Chilla's Arts, Puppet Combo, two people I really like are not about the combat. It's not
Right.
about,
Right.
the environments or anything necessarily. It's about just this quick, short story that's really creepy.
And that's actually a great segue to what I would like to talk about now, which is what are the sales for horror games that are popular?
Oh, yeah.
And let's start out by saying like horror games don't sell well at all. And there is only one series that's an anomaly to this, and I know that everybody knows what I'm about to say, and it
Let me
is
guess. Let me guess.
yeah, go.
Is it Resident Evil?
It's 100% Resident Evil.
That's
It's
easy.
the one that started it all.
It's
I
the
mean,
one that
sort of,
everybody knows.
sort of,
I
and
mean, people who don't know video games know Resident Evil.
yeah, exactly. Like if you don't know video games, you know what Resident Evil is
Right.
because it makes movies and stuff now. But and here are some numbers I'm just gonna throw at you guys just so you can understand. Like when people talk about Konami being bastards and killing this franchise, like this isn't what killed the franchise. It's the fact that survival horror just isn't popular. That's what killed the franchise. So the top selling Resident Evil of all time is Resident Evil 5, and that is an
Woo.
action
Sorry.
horror. It's a good game.
It's
It
another
is a really good
unpopular
game.
opinion.
It is
I
an
love
unpopular
that
opinion.
game.
It is a really good game. It's a really good co-op game. And for an action horror game, it sold 15 million copies.
Dang.
That is pretty damn good, considering the rest of the numbers we're going to get into.
I
Um,
mean, yeah. I mean, I could talk all day about this, so I won't.
yes, 100%. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw out like the lowest selling, like actual canonical Resident Evil game.
Oh, you mean not
That's
like Survivor or Outbreak?
no. This is actually part of the
Everybody's
story,
favorites.
and this was actually towards the bottom. This was like almost like at the bottom of the list. The worst selling Resident Evil game is Code Veronica at
I like that game.
2.9 million, almost 3 million. And I'm gonna give everybody a guess. What Silent Hill 1, 2, 3, and 4 sold from 99 to 2006.
Okay, we'll count. You get 5 seconds.
Two, Three, two, one. 5.3 million.
Wow. Code
That's
Veronica almost did that.
that's half.
And
Code
that's
Veronica
like
did half of that.
and that's like an obscure side Resident Evil still. It's
Yes.
not even like a numbered Resident
No,
Evil.
but it's canonical story and
Hmm.
2.9, almost 3 million to 5.3 million. So it did essentially half. That's insane.
Yeah.
And people are wondering what happened to Silent Hill. That's what happened to Silent Hill. It was either too scary.
It's niche.
Yeah, it's very niche.
Like, not everybody wants to be reminded of, trauma or sad. Like, it's even hard for me. I think Silent Hill 2 is gonna be hard for me because it deals with a lot of issues, like, that I feel kind of closely related to now, being somebody who has a lot of medical conditions. Like, so people don't want to necessarily revisit a lot of those feelings.
Hmm. I mean, I realistically like psychological horror is especially hard to get through. We
Mm-hmm.
recently watched the film Antichrist, and I myself like I love horror. I love psychological horror. That movie was like suffocating with how intense it was.
Where I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum, where that's kind of my favorite kind of horror, in the way that Antichrist was freaking awesome and now one of my favorite movies. But like Midsommar is one of my favorite
Right,
movies.
right.
Um, I like Old Boy. I like those kind of movies that are just like most people are like, nah, I want to forget that I watched that, and I'm
Yeah,
just like,
yeah.
I can't stop thinking about it.
Right,
It's
right.
awesome to
Where
me.
I'm like, I'm repressing this movie that
And
I
I'm
just
just
saw out of
like,
my head.
man, I should get a Three Beggars tattoo. That's so cool.
uh, but I mean, these are the numbers that we're dealing with. Silent Hill 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the rest of the series, too. I did look up these numbers. Um, they sold, and Silent Hill 4 came out in 2004, so that's 99 to 2006. So that's given it a couple of years to marinate and get people to buy it. But for the rest of the series, up until 2018 was the highest amount that I could find sold because these games are really hard to find except
Well,
for
I don't know if they made one in 2019 or older, right? Have they?
right. They just had that free one come out.
Yeah.
That's really it. But uh, as of 2018, these games are so hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
Even they're either insanely expensive. You can only really play them on emulators or on the original PlayStation 2 or Xbox 360. And I think Silent Hill, it's not Downpour, it's the other one with the military guy.
Shattered Memories.
No, not Shattered Memories.
Oh,
Homecoming.
oh, there you
Homecoming,
go. They
yes.
all have weird
Yeah, they
names. I
do.
can never remember
That's
which
how you
one's
know that they're
which.
bad. There's a subtitle instead of
Yeah.
a. Um,
Don't treat Code Veronica like that.
well, Code Veronica's not great for some reasons, but we'll get to that maybe
On
another
Resident
time.
Evil Talks.
When Code Veronica gets a remake, we'll talk about
That'll
that.
never happen.
I hope so. It's such a good bad game. Uh, but Silent Hill, as a series overall, as of 2018, sold 9 million. Not 9 million copies as an entire series.
And how much did Resident Evil 5 do again?
That is investor suicide.
Yeah, that's a nightmare.
The amount, okay, I looked at the Resident Evil series. I found actually somebody posted all the numbers on a Reddit post from Capcom's actual like number earnings.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll try to find that and post it up here where I can. Let me look at the time marks, about 18-ish minutes. But like I'm not even gonna calculate how many millions of copies this series has sold because it's far above and beyond anything that Silent Hill has done. I mean, 50 million just for 5, and that's not even the best one.
It's not. I
It's
mean,
not.
I did. Did you happen to see how much like the newer Resident Evils did? Like 8 and
like
7.
8. I think they sold significantly like more
Like,
than
because I
any
feel like 8
Silent Hill.
probably sold a lot.
I think the general like the generality of everything, and I could look it up here like real quick for us. I'll do that right now. I'm gonna say like the majority of the good Resident Evil games sold between, and that's not counting the PlayStation 1 because that's a different era of gaming that you can't even like really count because at that point in time, games were really selling like hundreds of thousands was like good for
Yeah,
those
yeah.
games. But it was around like the 4 to 8 million mark for most of them. Like yeah, so like that's what you're talking
I feel
about.
like Resident Evil 8 would be one of the best selling ones only because
And I don't think it
everybody was
was
so into Lady D, man. And everybody was just
very.
like, I want
But
to
again, that doesn't mean you
look
want
at
to play
her.
it. That doesn't mean you want to play it.
Okay,
This is
well,
my
don't put it
point,
past nerds.
right?
Okay.
Like oh wow, this popped up right away too. So I'll get to these numbers here in a second. But I mean, really, uh, the thing with horror is just because you like to be scared and you like horror doesn't mean you're gonna buy horror games. Like
Yeah,
people
true.
like different experiences when it comes to horror. Some people like roller coasters, you know, that thrill. Some people like haunted
Yeah,
houses.
I don't.
You love horror movies and horror games, but you're not going in a haunted house, right?
No, no, no.
Right,
I don't. I could get into my terrible haunted house experiences.
right.
But
So here you go. So Resident Evil 3, okay, Nemesis. 3,570,000 copies sold.
it's almost as much as 1 through 4.
Yes. And
I'm asking about 8, goddamn.
okay, so Resident Evil 8. So the most recent one sold 9,490,000.
That's more than the entire series.
Yes. It's less than 7, which sold 12,700,000,
Ooh.
but it hasn't been out as long, it hasn't had as many sales, so we don't know what those final numbers are even going to be yet.
I think 7's a little better than 8, but
7
we
is
can get
better
into
than
that
8.
too.
8's enjoyable.
It is.
Not,
It's fun.
not enjoyable.
I mean, played it. Check out our playthrough.
Yeah, Resident Evil 4 Remake sold 6 million copies as of
which is
this post,
disappointing.
which is less than Resident Evil 3 Remake. But again, these games,
Oh.
Resident Evil 4 came out not too long
We're gonna have to
ago,
stop
so
talking
like
about Resident Evil.
you have
You said the words
I
Resident Evil
know,
3
I know.
remake, and now I'm
And
angry.
again, these are like multiple. This isn't just like what they sold on the PlayStation. This is like lifetime sales.
Right.
We're not talking about like some minuscule number. We're talking about lifetime. And when you're talking lifetime, like when Silent Hill 2 sold its copies, it sold about a little over 1 million copies, where Silent Hill 1 on the PlayStation sold a little over 2 million copies because that Resident Evil craze was going through.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think Resident Evil probably. I mean, I don't have any sources for this, but it could be what got people into Silent Hill.
That's 100% like what got people into Silent Hill. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I mean,
Resident Evil was such like an experience. Like when you talk about the PlayStation, like Resident Evil, Metal Gear, Crash Bandicoot, like these are the games that like Spyro, like these games kind of defined the generation because it was such an experimental generation that you could do games like Silent Hill and be like 2 million copies. That's amazing. We're only selling this for $10.
Yeah.
You know, and that's an exaggeration. I can't remember what they were selling PlayStation games for, but they weren't expensive.
No.
Like buying a Nintendo 64 games was a $64 plus experience.
Was it really back in the day?
It was expensive. It was really expensive. I could look that up for you.
Oh
if
my
you
god!
want.
No, let's not get into that.
Oh, you don't want to get stuck in the numbers.
No, I know
get it.
because we don't want to be here all day. We got a lot to talk about.
We do got a lot to talk about, and I want to bring up Dead Space as well as a more action. This is an action horror game.
I love Dead Space. It deserves the world.
Okay, so now Resident Evil 5 sold 15 million copies. What do you think Dead Space, another action horror game, sold?
The very first one?
Yes.
Like 5 or 6 million, maybe.
It sold little over 1 million.
Oh shit! Well, okay. I just thought it would be super popular because it's a masterpiece.
How much do you think Dead Space 2 sold? It's a more action horror game.
Okay, since everybody liked Dead Space 1, I'm gonna say maybe the 5 or 6 million would be there.
A little over 2 million.
This is ridiculous.
This is what I'm talking about. Dead Space 3 sold less than 1 million copies upon its release. And lifetime up until Dead Space Remake, I didn't get those numbers in there, but the series sold about 4 million between those 3 games.
That seems way too low.
It's not.
And it got like this awesome remake and stuff. Like,
and they made movies and they
yeah.
they pumped They pumped all the. Remember the Dead Space 2 Your Mom Hates Dead Space commercial? That was insane.
I love it.
uh,
But for real, that's such a great series. I'm really shocked by those small numbers.
and you got to think like when you look at Silent Hill 2 and 3, and
Mm-hmm.
and to a lesser extent 4 doesn't look as good as 2 and 3. But Silent Hill 2 and 3 are amazing looking games, and Silent Hill 3 really pushes that PlayStation 2 technology.
Oh yeah.
And how much did that cost to make to get such little in return?
I mean, enough to keep making them. I feel like enough to make them for a while at least.
Well, apparently Konami didn't think so until they did Homecoming and Downpour.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
and you got to think so between the 5.3 million between 99 and 2006, it only sold another 3.7 million.
I mean, yeah, but if you only put like less than 1 million into these games, they're
But
good dividends for
that's
them.
including like the HD collection too that a
Ugh,
bunch of people bought and were disappointed in.
including ourselves.
Which is one of Konami's other biggest follies was we
Stop just re-putting out the same things, but just as bad or worse.
exactly. Well, they lost the code, and there was no reason to put this out. They should have just
Yeah,
said, "We are going to do this, guys, but we can't find the code, so these games are lost in time."
yeah,
Like, unfortunately, that's what happened. So a lot of people are complaining about Konami and the Konami problem being, how bad they treat their employees and everything. We've heard it all about Konami, and it doesn't. They don't care as a company. It's at some point though, like fans do need to understand that like a company is a company, and if
yeah,
you're not making money then you're losing money, so you can't keep pumping these these amazing graphics, because Silent Hill was like amazing graphics for its time period, and the camera angles that it was using was astonishing, and the music that was was high production. You're not seeing much returns from these games.
yeah. But I mean, I guess part of that's a little bit passion, and you have to think.
But a company versus passion, the company's always going to pick the company's money over passion, even if the passion is good. Like you can make a great game, but like if it doesn't sell, it just sucks for everybody.
Yeah, but the company is also a little responsible. I'm not saying like, oh, you're wrong. I'm saying, but the company is responsible for like marketing and promoting
Yeah.
and getting things out there. And I feel like Konami doesn't do that a lot for their games.
No, I would say the marketing for the Silent Hill franchise as a whole was probably not great.
Almost
Um,
non-existent.
people do still talk about that Silent Hill 2 trailer and how amazing it was. I can't ever I can't tell you anything
No,
about it because I don't remember it at all.
I
I
can't tell you
remember
seeing a
3.
Silent Hill trailer.
Yeah, I remember seeing Three's trailer,
I
but
don't remember that either.
like that was like I was a kid. I was never home, so like I didn't see anything.
Hmm.
Like on TV almost ever. Like I w- I barely watched TV when I was a kid because we were out in them streets, man.
I was gonna say I don't remember a ton of video game commercials in general,
Right.
but even with the later parts of the series and stuff like that, where video gaming becomes more prevalent, I feel like they did what you're suggesting and not pushing the technology. They came out on things like the Wii and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and they just did basics. But again, they didn't put like they did the opposite,
Yeah.
the complete opposite. They're like, we're not going to put anything into this. Somebody might buy it. Hopefully, we make money.
Right. And that's where I think like indie developers are probably like indie games make horror work and lucrative because they don't have to put all their money into how good it looks, because as long as it's a an experience, people enjoy it.
Well, and they don't need these giant teams all the time because
No,
these games
no,
aren't very large either, too.
no.
And some of them are, or some people just spend 10 plus years on one game.
Yes.
And, good for them. It's awesome for the genre.
Yes. And that's where it's hard. Is like I think Silent Hill 2 remake will be the highest selling Silent Hill of all time. Like
Uh,
I don't doubt that it will at all.
I think fanboys can be a little frustrating
I
sometimes.
I agree with you. However, the gaming world is different now.
True.
And Konami's going to be like, okay, so this is more popular than these by default. But the problem is with how much it costs to make games now, does that even it out or does that leave it where it's always been, which is at selling nothing?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they've listened to some feedback throughout the release.
Hmm.
I think that's pretty evident when we talk about the trailers.
Yeah, when we start talking about the trailers, that'll be, I think, very evident. But I also don't think that those trailers, especially early on, were finished product. I think that was them just trying to start marketing sooner.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're actually doing well with this one, though. Like I said, I think part of the problem was marketing and things like that. But now they're actually just have been pushing it and actually talking about the game and showing things. And then I also feel like they've been listening and trying a little bit to make something that people will buy or
Hmm.
enjoy at least.
Hmm. I um that being said, uh, you know, I think we should probably get into our thoughts initially on seeing the first Silent Hill 2 remake trailer.
So this is the announcement trailer, the first one.
And
It's from a year ago, technically.
and when we first watched this together, we were like, "Oh no,
Yeah,
oh
it was
no,
just a series of
uh,
oh no, no,
yeah."
no.
And that sucks because again, like we've said a lot of negative things about Silent Hill, like leading up until this point. But let it be
We
known,
love
like
Silent
we
Hill.
love Silent Hill, especially 3 and 4. But this trailer initially, the first, the first image you see is James, and he looks emaciated. He looks terrible.
Something's weird with the graphics. You know, we refresh ourselves on this, and when I look at it, I'm just like, it looks so weird. His hair is like bright yellow. The
Hmm.
colors feel off. It looks like a cartoon.
It does, but it has a graininess to it that looks almost like how you would expect a Silent Hill to look. But the face is so jacked up, like I can't even stand it.
It almost looks like a Telltale game to me. It
It's
almost looks
bad.
cell shaded.
It's so bad.
It's weird. It's a
Yeah.
really it's jarring
Yeah.
because it looks clean. It looks like bright, like really deep colors, which you don't
Hmm.
think Silent Hill. You think like
Un-
muted colors.
Unnaturally pale skin
Yes.
tones on the protagonist. Like I would expect this on someone like Angela,
Mm-hmm.
but like on James, absolutely not.
Right.
Um, but upon rewatching this trailer numerous times, because we rewatched it so we could have a better frame of reference. You don't want to go in this blind and just going. This is where I think none of this game was ready to be shown yet at this point in time.
Right.
There are different character models for all these characters in the same trailer. There are moments where Angela looks bloated, and
No,
that
that's not in this trailer.
oh yes, that well there's like two reveal trailers, yeah, or is there
The state of play and then
there's
the combat and
right,
then
right,
story. So
right. Okay, so
you're
I'm
skipping
jumping
ahead.
ahead. I'm jumping ahead. But there's in this one is all James, but there's character models of James where he looks closer to how he looks towards the final, but it's still a little messy.
His hair is like neon yellow almost.
Exactly, and
It's the
there's
most weird, off-putting color and look.
and that's why I'm saying this game wasn't ready to even show yet when they showed it. And that's unfortunate because the negative response from everybody was so fucking huge.
That's why my
The
concern with the sales is that people are not going to get over that first trailer.
100%. That's my biggest. Sorry, that's the wine. My biggest worry is people saw that, said, already axed it out, and said it sucks and it's done and over with, which sucks
Mm-hmm.
because I want Silent Hill to be good again. I
Right.
just want Silent Hill back, and it
Right.
sucks that old school Well, here's the thing. Everybody was a gamer. Everybody was a gamer once, right? Everybody talks about what a gamer they were. I was there from the beginning. It's just no, you weren't. Shut up.
What
Nobody.
are you talking about? You're going off on some
I'm going on a
tangents
tangent
here.
because I've
Like,
heard a lot of like
just
a lot of.
explain what you're talking about, and we'll
So
go off on this
I've
tangent.
watched a lot of trailer reactions, and it seems that everybody who has like gaming channels like much later on in their like existences and like they all claim to they were there when Silent Hill 2 was there, and they played the original when it first came out, and they beat it, and it was amazing. And I hate that. Like, stop being a fanboy and let people try to create something new. And I don't believe most of these people because I can't remember a time in my life that I heard anybody talk about Silent Hill 2. And I
Yeah.
was there.
Yeah, I mean, same, but like, I mean, Resident Evil was probably the only type of game that I really heard people talk about
Yeah,
that I would say was even close to those genres.
exactly. And that's what I'm trying to say. Even like the PlayStation 2 era, nobody was talking about Silent Hill until Silent Hill 3.
I mean, it could be like 2006, 2007. They're saying they did pick it up,
But
not like at that time.
which is fine, which is fine. I'm just saying like there's a lot of conjecture that I'm feeling, and I'm calling you out, gaming community. You're bullshit.
Yeah, nobody can get through that game the first time. It's impossible.
Yeah. Um.
I didn't think Pyramid Head looks great in that either. He's way too colorful. He looks like he should be in like a kids movie.
He's got like a wrinkled like side of his helmet that I
Well, I
noticed.
don't even care about that. It's just that
I'm
those
saying
graphics
though,
look so
instead of
weird.
looking like a big metal like object, it looked like cloth
Oh,
instead.
yeah,
It
maybe. I mean, something was really off with it.
it just didn't look
I
right.
don't even know how to
Too
explain it.
smooth, too clean. Everything was way
So
too
clean.
clean
Like Silent
and
Hill shouldn't be clean.
dirty, dank, nasty, meaty rust.
Yeah, I
That's all I
mean,
think of.
I feel like, and I'll complain about this the entire time. The voice acting's too clean. Troy Baker just sounds like Troy Baker. I
Yes.
love Troy Baker. This is nothing against him. I have no problem with him, but he shouldn't be James. He shouldn't be a well-known, very good voice actor. Silent Hill is supposed to be more gritty. Adding more graphics to it, adding really good voice acting to it takes away a lot from the unease or the oddity and uniqueness that makes it what it is.
Yes. It's supposed to make you feel uneasy the entire time. Like even for Silent Hill 2 and 3, which were like graphical anomalies for the PlayStation 2, they looked so good. They were still really gritty,
But
really
they look,
nasty, real dirty.
yeah,
It looked like somebody threw mud at the screen.
right. It was
And
like, what am I even looking at?
yeah, like that was the biggest thing. Like, what am I looking at?
That's because of the palette they used and like the
Yes.
saturation of everything and filters and stuff like that that made it good. So this trailer in particular is just like it's so bright, it's so colorful. Everything just feels so squeaky clean.
Yes. Yes. Um,
The state of play one is next. It's a very quick trailer.
very quick, about a
It's
minute.
mostly Angela.
Yeah, this is like the Angela trailer, and this
Mm.
is where everybody is making fun of Angela for being fat. And
First of all, I don't really think she. I mean, she looks fatter than the
she
original.
she has a fatter face in it,
And
but
she just looks rounder, more
there's
childlike almost.
but there's different images of Angela throughout the entire trailer where she is thinner.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it this trailer's just not done, guys.
Right.
Like the criticisms leading up to these other trailers are a game that's obviously not completed, not even close to being in the beta stage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's already being criticized and panned as like the worst thing that people have ever seen in their life because everybody has a renown for this game. And again, I'm gonna call you out and say, no, you weren't even there. Stop it.
I mean, I feel like trailers are super important though. They make or break games a lot.
They do.
And that was their fault for just trying to get it out there so quickly. They could have like made a 1 minute trailer instead of the announcement trailer
Mm-hmm.
that was just like cleaned up and everything, had no voices in it.
Show what's done. Stop giving us these trailers that are either one, I can't stand this. It's not the game. It's a weird. We spent a bunch of money on making this cinematic that is irrelevant to everything. I
Oh
can't
yeah,
stand that.
that we see a lot of those now.
And if the trailer does not depict things that are in the actual release of the game, stop showing it
Yeah,
because it's misleading and it's not a good idea.
it's only there to frustrate people later.
Yes, 100%.
It's only fuel to whatever people's grievances are.
We're looking at you, aliens, colonial
Oh yeah,
marines.
I knew what you're talking about immediately.
Like it doesn't take much for people to get 2 minutes of anything in a
Right.
trailer. It doesn't.
I mean, so the story elements of this were interesting, but Angela's models were off. It looked unfinished. She sounds weird.
I don't, and again, I don't think those were final voice lines. They were still probably in the middle of recording
Like,
voice
let me
lines.
record it. I don't care. I'll come in and just help you guys. That sounds weird, and I'm sorry to her voice actress. I'm
Yes,
so sorry.
yes.
It's probably not your fault.
Well,
It's
a lot
probably
of people,
direction.
a lot of people hated Ada too, and I don't think Ada's horrible either.
Okay, I'll get into that later as if we talk about that at some point. I think it's however it's edited or recorded is done remotely and it just came in like weird and
100%.
echoey and it sounds like it's disjointed and that's what really makes it bad.
Right, and I would say that, and I would say the fact that I think people were expecting Ada to be more like old school Ada,
More
where
sassy?
more sassy and playful. Where this one
She's
is
very
more
serious.
she's serious and she's like, what's the word I want to say? Like disconnected from.
Cold.
Yeah, exactly.
cold.
She's cold. She's disconnected from her emotions and how she's dealing with Leon. She says a couple of things that make you go like she does kind of still like Leon, but like they're very subtle. Like that's another subtlety thing.
But this isn't a Resident
yes,
Evil cast.
it is not.
So we
are
talked way too much about Resident Evil already.
Uh-huh.
I think the combat looks interesting from the State of Play trailer, and then the combat reveals the next trailer that reveals some puzzles and things like that. It starts with the puzzles and then goes into some combat.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the puzzles look fun. I think they look nice.
Yes.
I have no problem with that. And I don't give a shit about, Silent Hill's combat. It's
No.
always been bad. Like, anything better than what it was is still going to be better. I mean...
Right. Well, the argument right now is, well, it's not supposed to be good.
I keep calling bullshit on that.
100%.
Just because somebody like didn't do good at coding some combat does not mean it was on purpose. Just because it's a masterpiece to you and it's your favorite.
Yeah.
Like you can't just make stuff up.
No. I think. Now here's the thing.
Hold on, I want to relate this to Tommy Wiseau's
go ahead.
saying later that The Room was a dark comedy on purpose.
Yeah.
It was
no.
not.
No.
Get out of here.
Stop it. Stop it.
You thought it was great.
Yeah.
You thought you looked great.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same thing to me.
Exactly. I would say this, like, so when someone's like, well, James is supposed to be an everyman, so he's not supposed to be good at combat. I'm an everyman. I can shoot a fucking gun.
Well, not every guy can, though.
Yeah, not every guy can, but you don't know if James can shoot a gun. Were you there all of James' life? Do you know if he shoots? Like, that's not something explored in his background.
You don't really explore his background. And I do
no.
agree that James is a bit of an everyman. He's that's a lot of male protagonists.
Yes.
They find that men like to put themselves as the protagonist a
Mhm.
lot. So they try to make it be very basic so that just the general guy can be in there.
Right.
Versus female protagonists are still made for the male gaze. So they are looked at like, what would guys want to look at?
Yeah.
Because they just assume men are the ones who are going to be the players.
Although Heather was way better at combat than James ever was.
Yeah, she was a bratty teen. Have you ever met a bratty teen girl?
All bratty teens can do like wield maces and katanas
and turn into Sailor Moon.
Turn into Sailor Moon at some point. Yeah. Spoiler for that old ass game, but
yeah, that was like 30 years ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, when people are complaining about the combat, this is the extent of it. You can aim and shoot, and there's a dodge function.
Yeah, I don't think people need to expect a Resident Evil 4 or 5,
No,
out of it that's going to be really action based. I think they
no.
just wanted it to be more enjoyable
You're
and
not
less
gonna
frustrating.
you're not gonna be exploding heads and
That would be cool though.
doing German suplexes to the enemies. You're gonna
If
be shooting
if
them
James
though.
does not punch a boulder in Silent Hill
If
2 remake,
Dude, if I don't see some sick knife parries, I'm gonna be super pissed off.
if you cannot jump backwards with your gun and
Like,
roll around back and forth on the ground,
and then finish them with the knife. Like,
then it's unplayable.
I don't know what the community wants out of this. Like, it's insane to me. Like, I get it. Like, okay, well, it's survival horror. The combat isn't supposed to be this super combat heavy thing. Okay, that's fine. But we don't even know how it really works yet. We don't know anything.
Yeah, we haven't. Well, we don't because I don't know if they explore that in the like hours of
Gameplay,
gameplay.
yeah. Like
We
haven't
have
we didn't
avoided
watch.
that. We
Yeah.
don't want to see
We
too
want to
many
be
spoilers.
fresh. We want to be fresh.
Because we kind of just enjoy going in blind.
Yes.
So I don't know if it has been revealed, but I can say it doesn't look so
No.
over the top egregious that it's like, oh, this game doesn't even relate.
Like the only thing I would maybe want is like if you fail a dodge, make it pretty punishing or something. Like do something like that. Really. But I would imagine that like the only real threat in the game is probably still going to be Pyramid Head, and even in the old game, like he was easy to avoid, but if he did hit you, it did a lot of damage. So
So I think, I think part of the point is with this game and these more psychological horror game isn't to give you a lot of damage. So I'm okay if it's easy to dodge and it's easy to get around combat because the focus should be that you don't get frustrated so that you can just sort of walk through the story and enjoy it. But the combat still gives you unease and that possibility of getting hurt or having something happen or losing something. But I don't think it should be so much that you're like, oh, I don't want to do this again. Oh, I don't want to do this again.
Yeah. And this brings me to the other point about the combat is, so in the original Silent Hill 2, combat was a huge part of the ending. Oh, I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate you offering me some water. So I would imagine maybe this game is going to have that same thing. But there's also a character in this game that kind of like is... And I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to mute what I'm about to say because it is spoilery. So here is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 spoiler alert. Eddie is kind of the guy wielding a gun and having a good time with the combat. And whereas James, you're not supposed to be having fun killing the thing. So is the combat tied to...
We moved to the story trailer in case you didn't know. We're talking about the story trailer now?
No, I'm talking about the old game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about the old game. Whereas, you're not supposed to have fun killing things. And the idea is James isn't having fun killing anything. So if your character and you're a player having fun killing things, does that attune you with Eddie more, and does that change your ending? Like, we don't know.
Right. I mean, that would be really cool. I would definitely love to see something like that. I don't see a problem with dodging. I think it goes along with the game's mechanic, just the idea of the game in general.
Right.
Just to not be
being able to
aggressive.
Dodge and run.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Really. Even if I don't have to hit it with the stick with nails in it.
So the story trailer is the last one that we really caught up on and watched things with. It's the longest one, I think, and super interesting.
It's really good.
This is what made us interested.
This made me go buy it.
Yeah, already.
My wallet flew out of my pants.
Yes.
And into the PlayStation, that's where we'll be playing it from. So
I just want to say, just like every Silent Hill, I'm psyched for the soundtrack.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm so ready.
Promise sounds so good.
I'm so ready. I mean, Silent Hill, that's the pinnacle of game soundtracks almost to me. It's so great.
It's really good.
The graphics look so much better. Like everything's so
Everybody looks so
softer.
much better.
It's muted. Like even you can see how soft his hair is and the colors.
Even Troy Baker's like delivery on lines is much better.
Better, but I still don't like it. And it's okay. I don't have to like it. You can like Troy doing this. I don't know. I just think that he's too recognizable is what I'm saying. Not that he's doing a bad job.
Troy
It's
Baker
just,
sounds like Troy Baker.
right. I know who he is. So all I'm seeing is Troy Baker when I'm seeing it instead.
Yes.
So that's that with it, but I love Maria.
Yeah, Maria sounds really good, right?
She sounds and looks amazing.
Yes.
She's super intense.
The update with the leather jacket, really good. Nice
Yeah.
touch.
We watched something that was kind of explaining some of her character design being based off of Christina Aguilera at the time, just what was considered sexy or provocative.
Right.
And I like instead of the cardigan that's very Y2K, we moved into the more leather jacket, a little more sophisticated
Right.
too.
Right.
Very cool.
Which a lot of people were complaining about early on that her design wasn't really up to par. And they may have changed this model from a image that I did find online.
It looked like she was wearing a black bodycon dress in the original image.
With like a light red overshirt.
But she has the pink leather print skirt again, which I think really brings her character back.
And again, that other character model was probably more in tune with the older one, and it just didn't resonate well here. So giving a nice leather jacket actually was sexier.
Yeah.
Slicker.
Oh, absolutely. I love like the nails, the detail to that. I like the little pinks at the end of her hair, it looks like. And
yes.
her hair's really pretty.
That was a nice touch. Just a little bit of sex appeal, right?
Well,
just enough.
Modern sex appeal, because remember, she's supposed to like represent some of that, you know, in the way that she is sexy. And but I think that just giving that little modern like dye to her hair, having the little choker, the nails are particularly done, the more leather sophisticated look just brought it to this era.
Yeah. I think Angela in the trailer sounds a little bit better too.
A little. She doesn't sound as gravelly.
Yes.
Which it sounds more like my voice in the first one. I feel like a lot deeper than I'm used to. It doesn't sound soft like she's talking like this.
But like I would say like she sounds broken at that point. Yeah. Like she's supposed to. I don't mind her having a deeper, more gravelly voice, especially the trauma of these characters really goes a lot into how they look and sound and everything.
But I feel like she's supposed to feel innocent, and it's off-putting. So, she sounds like an innocent smoker.
I'm hoping that like earlier on in the game they fix that to where she's lighter and sounds more childlike.
Moves into more emotional.
Yeah, exactly. Because like earlier on in Silent Hill 2, she sounds more inquisitive, like almost like a child. And then by the end of it, she sounds grovelly and beat up and whatnot. And that brings us to Eddie. And for me, this steals it. Like, good job,
Maria
guys.
Stole it from me. That was the pinnacle to me. So your passion is Eddie.
Eddie is beyond, like, expectation. Like I can't wait to see what they do with them because...
That's how I feel about Maria.
Exactly. Like, knowing's knowing. And, like, man, way better design. I like his design way better than the original. I like that... Like, he looks like he needs braces. He looks like he's been crying the entire time. He looks like he hasn't slept in years. And just his reaction to James, like, telling him, like, how you can't do certain things. And him just kind of laughing it off and shrugging, like, yeah, whatever, man. Like, I was just playing. Like, that's...
Yeah, I played Silent Hill 1 when it came out. I mean, 2 when it came out. And I was like, I beat it right away. I was totally into it.
God. But
sorry, I was just
you're going in on people now too.
No,
right?
I just wanted to help you. I thought it was perfect.
No.
It was perfect timing.
I am not Eddie, damn it. But it just, man, like it sent chills up my spine. And when I feel chills go up my spine when I watch a trailer, I'm like, this is gonna be a good game.
That's how I felt when like Maria was talking. And just like her expressions were creepy. She almost looks like a demon. She doesn't look real. She doesn't look real.
I'm real. She says I'm real. It's like the whole band, dude. Like that's so
just
good.
The touching and again,
it's so good.
The detail on the nails and everything. I don't know why that got me, but the fact that they were like pretty and longer and colored just.
I think this is going to be a game where fans of old are going to be pleasantly surprised. It's going to
I
be
hope
different.
so. Yeah.
It's going to be different. It has to be different because they have to circumvent those expectations. Because if they
Mhm.
don't, they're not going to make you feel like you did that first time. And here's the thing: when you talk about a game being better than a remake or a game being better than whatever, it's usually because that was an original idea.
Right.
What
Right.
makes Silent Hill 2 better than Silent Hill 1 is Silent Hill 2 is an original idea and Silent Hill 1 is an original idea. It's just people prefer this idea better.
Yeah, it was something that you're not going to see much anymore where things connect, the symbolism, the metaphors, like what the monsters are, what everything means in
Yeah.
this world is such a cool and awesome and thoughtful connection that they really don't just take on anymore in
Yeah.
the series.
It's not bloated just for the sake of content.
Right.
It's everything is purposeful and necessary. And as long as they achieve that with this remake, I don't understand the problem that people are going to have with it.
I mean, Silent Hill 2 is different. I mean, Resident Evil 2 is a different feel, but it's almost better. Like you can enjoy both of them
You can
separately and feel differently.
exactly.
And
And
that's such a cool feeling.
those are two different like Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 2 Remake are completely different games.
But you can love them both
Love them
in a
both.
different way.
And appreciate both for what they bring to the table.
And I'm hoping that's what we get out of this is that it's like,
Exactly.
oh, I still love the original Silent Hill 2. Oh, but I also love the remake.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can simultaneously think that they're two separate entities that you can love in their own ways.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I mean. If we come out of it with that, I think I'd be happy.
I would be happy if this game was a 7 out of 10. That would be great because Silent Hills really aren't even that good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, people don't rate horror games very high
Very
anyway.
good.
Again, I bet if we did another cast, maybe we talk about Resident Evil because we have a lot to say apparently.
Obviously, we got a lot to say.
But we can look at just some of the ratings and stuff that some horror games have gotten.
Yeah, we really should have looked up what the ratings were for this so we could compare it because, like, I mean,
Well, we could
realistically,
just do a whole cast on ratings and horror
I mean,
games.
really, if we could, but that's for a different time period. Any last thoughts on Silent Hill 2 Remake?
I'm stoked. I can't wait. And I hope it's enjoyable and it makes everybody happy.
I am the same. I'm stoked. I can't wait. I hope it makes everybody happy. And those of you who are there, bullshit. All
Oh
right?
my god.
Because I didn't hear you back in the day. But I'm gonna digress on that note. No, I think this game is gonna hit harder than people think, and it's gonna be a game of the year contender. I'm calling it now.
Well, I don't have as high hopes as you do. My hopes are that people will at least accept it enough that maybe we could get another remake and some of them, 3 are favorite, or just that it doesn't completely flop for Konami or the team and stuff like that. I just hope there's at least some love.
I just hope it brings the experience. As long as it brings the
Mm-hmm.
experience, nothing else really matters. And for Silent Hills,
Especially for a new generation of people. Like that they get
especially.
to experience that story and those feelings that we all did the first time we
Yeah,
got through
and
that.
I'm gonna make one last note. I'm surprised that they're even making this game
Yeah.
at this time period because this has a lot of
Oh yeah.
really rough content that's handled very well in it.
Yeah.
So if they can do that, then brava, and it's way better than I think people are going to give it credit for. But I think this is going to be a sleeper contender for Game of the Year.
Maybe it'll be our game of the year at least.
It might be my Game of the Year. It
Resident
looks.
Evil 4 remake came out this year, so nothing's gonna.
Was it this year or was
Was
it
it
last?
this year?
I don't even
I don't
know.
know.
I think it was. I think it was last year. I think you're dumb.
The last 4 years have just totally
Dude,
mixed
yeah.
together. So I
What a
don't
good
know.
game though, Resident Evil 4 remake.
Yeah,
Man.
that's my game of
Chef's
the year
kiss.
for the rest of my life.
All right, I'm gonna take back what I just said. So if this game doesn't have 6 parries, the game's over. All right, but thank you for joining us again. I'm Chaos Augur, and this is Vicar Amelia.
Yeah, we'll be talking about more horror and indies and interesting.
Please come join us on our channel, Duo Die. That's duo_die. And you can watch us play through and see our first real life reactions to the Silent Hill 2 remake, and maybe watch some of our old videos. And we're going to continue kind of being going forward with more passion projects because we love survival horror and we really want to bring you guys our thoughts on survival horror with podcasts and just talking with you guys and then sharing the gameplay videos with you.
Yeah, so this is just us having some fun talking about things that we love.
Coming back, baby, coming back. So we appreciate you guys. Hopefully you join us and watch this video and enjoy it too. Don't hate us so much for our thoughts and opinions, but we will see you later.
And feel free to tell us yours.
Yes. In the comments below, click that bell, baby.
Oh, God, don't add like that.
Okay. We'll see you guys in another video. Goodbye.